Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call the supervisors, please. I'm aware that Supervisor Gable is not in attendance. Supervisor Grulich is not here either, it would appear. Guess I should vote. One more. Did you register? Yes. There we go. 26 in attendance. All right, citizen comments. Anyone wishing to address the board, I would ask you to approach the microphone, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes. Any interest in citizen comments? Seeing none, citizen comments are closed. Announcements of the chair. I have several. If I can dig out, I apologize. I was chatting as many of you were, so I did receive a notice in the, actually let me start with this. Most of you know, if not all of you know, that Mr. Gertson's mother passed away recently. We have a thank you from Dave and his family for the flowers and the expressions of sympathy. I know many of us attended the wake for David's mother, and our thoughts continue to be with he and his family. I received a correspondence from the Department of Transportation just this week with reference to the reconstruction of Highway 50 east of I-94 all the way to 30 or 41st Avenue, something of that nature. Let's see here. 116th to 43rd. What they're telling me is that I always get a kick out of how they work here, that they're kicking off the planning and design. The completion of 30% design plans is anticipated May of next year. No, I'm sorry, May of this year. So 30% of the completion by May of this year, 60% by the end of 2013. Final plan development will continue through 2016, and then construction is expected to begin 3 phases starting in the fall of 2016, then fall of 2017 and fall of 2018. So I guess point being, we'll hear plenty more about it. I'm sure it'll change 3 or 4 times in the process, and at some point in time they will disrupt all of those businesses along Highway 50 and reconstruct that road. So I'll keep you posted if there's anything I can share with you. 2012 WCA district meetings. As you know, the WCA holds a number of district meetings throughout the district. They've got what appears to be 7 locations. The southeast area, which is Kenosha, Milwaukee, Ozaukee, Racine, Walworth, Washington, and Waukesha, is Tuesday, May 1st, 3 to 6 p.m. at the Country Inn and Suites in Germantown. There's others that are probably within reach if you are inclined. I trust this is all on their website. If you'd like a copy of it, let me know. I can provide that as well. I also have, I'll just, I guess, make this point here under chairman announcements so we're all in the know. I'm in receipt of a rather substantial document, a complaint from the Kenosha County Highway Employees Local 70, Council 40, AFSCME, AFL-CIO versus Kenosha County. This is going through the process. Corporation Counsel, I trust this is my copy. Given that it states on here it was copied to, I believe, I thought Lorette was copied on this. If you need me in court, let me know. Otherwise, I'll give that to you. And that's all I have. Supervisor reports. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From facilities and highway, parks, and golf, we have many items that we're working on right now, and I'm just going to give a very brief synopsis of those things. On facilities, things that we've been working on probably for this past year, the courthouse and Molinaro restoration project, that's complete except for some landscaping in the spring. Parking structure, security lights and gates, again, that's in the summer. Brookside demo project, spring, again, that's mostly landscaping and seating. Corporation Council, remodel and relocate, that is done. The old Corporation Council building, there is still some records and cleaning to be done there. We have to update all our radio towers and do an analysis of those. That is ongoing. We have also an update on the Brookside facility survey. We had 13 things that the state wanted us to complete there. 10 are complete, 3 are outstanding, and we're in the time frame on those. With parks, the Katy Park Plan, the committee is working on the recommendations that we were given that all of you have seen. Also on parks, there's a number of resolutions coming this evening that I won't get into. Golf, we know that we've had recommendations. We all saw the studies from Carthage on those. There'll be a resolution coming from the facilities and highway and golf next month on a closing of the Red 9 at Brightondale, with some updates on that also, so I'll hold on that. The rates on golf, we are recommending, and the administration is recommending no changes on those. So I guess I've covered it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Jeff Gintz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a meeting today for joint services, and the only thing to really come out of that is we're going to have some updates on the software presented by the director, Tom Genthner, at the March 14th Judiciary and Law meeting and the March 15th Finance meeting. He did go to Public Safety and Welfare for the city last night, and it was very well received. So if anybody can attend those, it's some good information. Thank you.
Do we have a consultant working with us? Who makes the presentation?
Tom Genthner is going to make the presentation. And Ray Arbit and Marty Lecoq have been working with him on getting that information put together. So,
thank you. Supervisor Bruning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. March 14th at 6:30, the Extension Education portion of our committee will be hashing out the committee structure evaluation report. If anyone is interested in giving us input or whatever into how the committee is being structured, please attend and have your voice heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to point out on your desk is the 2011 general fund estimate. We're anticipating to close out the year at our expected level of $8,088,000. That is up from $7.7 million. We certainly had challenges with the health insurance. Probably being the biggest area. We transferred $500 from the health insurance reserves. Without that, we would have closed down maybe $200,000, but our general fund is going to close up this year. It's anticipated, and that puts our general fund at 12.96%. We have a policy, a benchmark of 17%, but for the increase in delinquencies over the last few years, our general fund would end up being at 18.96%. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Noble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a Health and Human Services meeting tonight, and on the agenda we have received 3 grants, and they'll be coming before the committee or before the county board at the next county board meeting, but there were pretty nice substantial grants, which means approximately 5 jobs for people in the Kenosha community. We did have the year-end Department of Human Services report. The Aging and Disability Services Department was $250,000 under budget, so that's a good thing. Brookside Care Center finished right on target. The Children and Family Services was about $1 million under budget. Health Department was $98,000 under budget, and altogether, the Health and Services, the Human Services Department returned $1,298,000 to the general fund that Supervisor Clark was just talking about. We get a report from Brookside and on the admissions coordinator position, which has been a very successful project or person that we put on board. It's actually been 2 people over the last year and a half, but that concept has worked out very, very well for Brookside and has helped us, or has helped Brookside get to the break-even position that they're at right now. And of course, the Brookside survey, in 2012, the state survey, they got a perfect score, and pretty much, you read it in the paper, but you can't say it too much. They're rated as one of the top nursing homes in the state, if not the country. So with that, congratulations to the Brookside employees and staff at Brookside.
Thank you. Any other supervisor comments? I see no lights. County Clerk.
County Executive appointments, Mark William Nieder to serve on the Kenosha County Local Emergency Planning Committee.
For the Judiciary and Law.
Richard Kessler to serve on the Brookside Board of Trustees.
All right, I'm going to ask if the board is willing on 27, 28, and 29, given that these are known individuals to us, if there's, I'll entertain suspending the rules on any one or all 3 of them. Moved by Elverman, seconded by Arrington to suspend the rules on appointments 27, 28, and 29. We will address them individually after having been read. 27 has been read. Is there a motion on Mr. Kessler to serve on the Brookside Board of Trustees? Moved by I'm sorry. All right, all those in favor of suspending the rules? Is there discussion on that? Supervisor Rose?
Yes, I don't think we should suspend the rules. I see no reason to. There's no necessity here. There's no urgency here. And I don't think we should do this on any appointments. And this is not a negative statement with respect to any one of the individuals. The purpose is to review those appointments by committee, and that's been the long-standing rule, and I see no reason offered to deviate from it. So I'm going to move to oppose the proposition that we suspend the rules and urge the rest of the board to oppose it as well.
Thank you. Supervisor Noble.
I've always, I'm in agreement. I've never supported suspending the rules for a county executive appointment. I think every appointment should go through the due process, and even if it was myself, I would not vote to suspend the rules. It just is it's good policy to go through the committees.
Thank you. Supervisor Overman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I normally wouldn't make that proposal, but what I've seen in the past on this type of appointment, we're going to look at these 3 people. They're all well known in the community. I've served with 2 of them, as many of us have, and the committee is going to spend little or no time with no questioning done on any of this. It's the only reason I made that motion this evening, and I think on these 3 appointments that that's the passage that we should take. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Rose.
I don't think I would be presumptuous to assume that there would be no questions with respect to all 3 appointments. I'm not speaking against any of these individuals, but I would certainly beg to differ with Supervisor Elberman with respect to 29. We have had substantial problems with the city. We've had substantial discussions with the leadership there. I disagree. I think there will be questions with respect to some of those appointments. And again, what's the rush? What's the urgency? What's the reason? I hear none.
If you'd like to separate the question on the suspension of the rules, you certainly have the ability to do that as well. Before you, however, is suspending the rules on 27, 28, and 29. Any further discussion? Supervisor Elverman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend my motion to move to suspend the rules on 27 and 28.
Is the second in agreement with that? Or do I need another otherwise there's another second. Seconded by Celebrate. Motion made by Elverman to suspend the rules on 27 and 28, seconded by Supervisor Celebrate. We're still under discussion. Any further discussion on the suspension of the rules? Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know that I would be in favor of such a separation. One of the things this body has prided itself on is being better than some other legislative bodies in our state in the local government capacity. I think this might jeopardize that thought and that perception in the minds of some people. So I would be very hesitant to go through with this move. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, the issue before you is suspension of the rules on item number 27 and 28 for a vote this evening. All those in favor signify by saying aye. P and plus if you're in favor, P and minus if you're opposed. This is suspension of the rules on county executive appointment 27 and 28 only. Motion carries 18-7, 1 abstention. All right, a motion on appointment 27 is in order. Motion on county executive appointment number 27. Anyone? Moved by Clark, seconded by Michael. On the question. Supervisor Bruning. Supervisor Clark, did you have anything you want to add on that? I'm sorry. Supervisor Bruning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I was reading through this application for former Supervisor Kessler, I noticed that his application was dated October 7th of 2009. I am under the impression that, I'm just assuming that this was an oversight of the past administration, that he was not placed on this board before, and that he is now going to be succeeding Frank.
Supervisor Bruning, he is currently on the Brookside Board of Trustees.
According to this, he is going to be succeeding Frank.
That's correct. He is currently on the Brookside Board of Trustees. He is a holdover as the county supervisor, which the executive is now getting to the point of making a change. Frank is no longer on the board. Kessler is going to remain on the Brookside Board of Trustees as a non-elected official.
And then Supervisor.
So he is not superseding himself, he is superseding Mr. Santapalo.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else on the issue? Seeing no lights. All those in favor of 27 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Appointment 28, Gail Gens to serve on the Brookside Board of Trustees.
Moved by Clark, seconded by Arrington. Supervisor Clark, anything? Anyone on the issue? Seeing no lights. All those in favor of Supervisor Gail Gens serving on the Brookside Board of Trustees signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Appointment 29, Frank Passetti to serve on the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
Old Business, Ordinance 1, Reading 2 required. 16 from Supervisor Rose on the Public Works Facilities Committee, an ordinance to amend Chapter 10 of the Municipal Code of Kenosha County entitled County Parks, submitted by Rose, Alverman, Grady, Gens, Gail Gens, Boyd Frederick, Esposito, and Colmeyer. New business ordinances, first reading 2 required. 17 from the Executive Committee, and ordinance to amend Section 2.084 of the Municipal Code of Kenosha County. Molinaro, yes. Ekernis, yes. Clark, yes. Alberman, yes. Michael, yes. Noble, yes. Brunig, yes. 18, from the Executive Committee, an ordinance to amend Section 8.025 and D of the Municipal Code of Kenosha County Special Event Licenses. 19, from Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee regarding Richard E. Senior and Carol Flocker, owner, Doug Hughes, agent, request a rezoning from R4 Urban Single Family Residential District to R4 Urban Single Family Residential District and C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District in the town of Salem. Brunig, yes. Kohlmeyer, yes. Underhill, excused. Decker, yes. Hallman, excused. Gable, yes. Resolution, first reading, 2 required. 5, from the Executive Committee, a policy resolution to create a contracting policy from Kenosha County. Molinaro, yes. Ekernis, yes. Clark, yes. Alberman, yes. Michael, yes. Noble, yes. Brunig, yes. 6, from the Finance Administration Committee, a policy resolution to reclassify one position in the Sheriff's Department from office support worker to office associate. Gens, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Singer, yes. Rose, yes. 7, from the Finance Administration Committee, a policy resolution to reclass the stock person position to a shop operator. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Singer, yes. Rose, yes. Clark, yes. Ekernis, yes. Gens, yes. Okay, where am I at? Resolutions, 1 reading, 94. From the Finance Administration Committee, a resolution to reauthorize self-insurance. Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Ekernis, yes. Rose, yes. Singer, yes. Grady, yes.
Supervisor Clark.
I move Resolution 94.
Resolution 94 moved by Clark, seconded by O'Day. Supervisor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 94 is every 3 years, Kenosha County is required to authorize to become self-funded for our workers' compensation. We can either be self-funded or insured. So this is a housekeeping thing that is done every 3 years. The self-insurance has worked very well for us. It is the recommendation of the administration and passed unanimously through the committee. Thank you.
Anyone on Resolution 95? I'm sorry, 4. Anybody on Resolution 94? Seeing no lights, all those in favor of 94 signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
95, from Human Service Committee, a resolution to convert a Division of Workforce Development Fraud Specialist position to an Economic Support Specialist. From Human Service Committee, Noble, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Decker, yes. Arrington, yes. Kubicki, yes. From Finance Administration Committee, Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Singer, yes. Ekernis, yes. Rose, yes. Grady, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move Resolution 95.
Resolution 95 moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Clark. Supervisor Noble.
This resolution proposes to convert a fraud specialist position to an economic support specialist position within the workforce development. And as a result of the consortium formation in 2012, as required by the governor's biennial budget, the state's centralized processing center will be closed by April 1st of this year. Consequently, more income maintenance cases will be transferred to the Wisconsin counties, increasing the current income maintenance workload. About 4,000 cases are expected to be transferred into the Kenosha County by March 31st of 2012. To help manage this influx of new cases coming into Kenosha County, Workforce Development is converting an existing position from fraud specialist to economic support specialist. This change would be effective March 1st of this year. There is no budgetary impact and no change in levy required for the conversion of this position. Fraud referrals and investigations will be done through an agreement with Racine County under the Partners for Program Integrity Consortium beginning March 1st. Workforce development staff will continue to address issues of suspected fraud through the PPI Consortium partnership. If you have any questions or that I didn't talk about, Adeline Green is here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Any discussion on Resolution 95? I see no lights. All those in favor of Resolution 95 signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Resolution 96 from the Human Service and Finance Administration Committee, a resolution to modify the budget of the Department of Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services for In-Home Safety Services Grant. Noble, yes. Jeff Gents, yes. Decker, yes. Arrington, yes. Kubicki, yes. Finance and Administration Committee, Clark abstain. O'Day, yes. Singer, yes. Jeff Gents, yes. Eckerness, yes. Rose, yes. Grady excused.
Supervisor Noble.
I move Resolution 96.
Resolution 96 moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor O'Day. Supervisor Noble.
The Division of Children and Family Services has received an in-home safety services grant from the state of Wisconsin, renewable for 1 additional year. And this program will accomplish the following: provide intensive in-home safety services to children and families in their home in order to control for impending danger, threats in the home while parents are improving their ability to safely parent their children. Work closely with the Department of Children and Family Services social worker by controlling all safety threats to children in their home while the social worker develops a long-range case plan to improve overall conditions within the home. Also, children who remain safely within their parental home will benefit from this program by avoiding the secondary trauma associated with placement in foster care. The in-home safety services program will consist of expanding family preservation services provided by Kenosha Area Family and Aging Services and expanded in-home intensive aftercare services provided by Professional Services Group. In total, between these two contracted services, there will be an additional 4.5 full-time employees hired to take care of this program. The program has the support of the Honorable Chad Kirkman, the District Attorney Robert Zaff, and Court Commissioner John Mason, and this grant poses no levy-funded cost to the county for 2012. If you have any questions, Ron Rogers is here and knows much more about this grant than I do.
Thank you. Before you is Resolution 96. Anyone on the question? I see no discussion. This is a roll call. This is a budget modification. P and plus if you're in favor, P and minus if you're opposed. Supervisor Frederick, Boyd Frederick, did you have? Okay. Motion carries 25-0, 1 abstention.
Resolution 97 from Judiciary and Law Committee, a probationary cabaret for Hobnob Restaurant. Michael, yes. Haas, yes. Johnson, yes. Singer, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gerlich excused, and Zerban, yes.
Supervisor Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move resolution number 97.
Resolution 97 moved by Michael, seconded by Supervisor Haas. Supervisor Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As stated in the resolution, the Hobnob Restaurant located in the town of Summers was granted a probationary cabaret license back in August the 23rd of 2011. And basically now they're requesting for the actual regular cabaret license in lieu of the probationary cabaret license. The Sheriff's Department did do their inspection. It did come back with a recommendation of approval of the cabaret license, so I urge your support. Thank you.
Before you is Resolution 97. Anyone on the question? Supervisor Bruning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, to Supervisor Michael, can you tell me if they are in compliance with the Planning and Development Office?
We did not receive any documentation. I know now that after the incident that occurred with Club Climax, the Sheriff's Department has been working with the different county agencies, and we did not receive any documentation showing that there was any issues regarding any violations. So from the information we received, I believe they are in compliance.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Anyone else on Resolution 97? Seeing no lights, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, Motion carries.
Resolution 98 from Judiciary and Law and Finance Administration Committees regarding Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces Agreement for funding overtime for investigation activities. Judiciary and Law, Michael, yes. Haas, yes. Johnson, yes. Singer, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gurlick, excused. Zerban, yes. Finance Administration, Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Singer, yes. Eckerness, yes. Rose, yes. Grady, excused.
Supervisor Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move resolution number 98.
Resolution 98, moved by Michael, seconded by Clark. Supervisor Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is to accept $20,000 from the federal government. Basically, as we all know, the KDOG unit, which is a joint task force with the Sheriff's Department and the City Police Department, they work with the federal government in going after organized crime here in Kenosha, and this is to offset overtime that the KDOG unit incurred working through the months of October of 2011 through September of 2012. So I urge your support of this $20,000. Thank you.
Resolution 98 is before you. Any question? Anyone on the question? I see no lights. Two-thirds vote is required. Hold on one second. In favor of 98 P and plus, opposed P and minus. Motion carries 26-0.
Resolution 99 from Judiciary and Law and Finance Administration regarding Sheriff's Bomb Squad Equipment Grant 2011. Michael, yes. Haas, yes. Johnson, yes. Singer, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gurlick, excused. Zerban, yes. Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Eckerness, yes. Rose, yes. Singer, yes. Grady, excused.
Supervisor Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move resolution 99.
Resolution 99 moved by Michael, seconded by Clark. Supervisor Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Kenosha Sheriff's Department has been awarded a grant for $11,300 to purchase equipment for the bomb squad. The monies will be used to buy a sighting system for the bomb robot, a telescopic manipulator arm for the that will be used by the bomb squad team, and the grant requires no match and there is no increase to the levy. I urge your support for this this grant. Thank you.
Anyone on the issue? If not, all those, this is another budget modification, two-thirds vote required. Resolution 99, P and plus if you're in favor, P and minus if you're opposed. Motion carries 26-0.
Resolution 100 from Public Works Facilities and Finance Administration Committees regarding transfer funds within 2011 Department of Public Works budget. Public Works Facility Committee, Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, excused. Gail Gens, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Dan Esposito, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Finance and Admin Committee, Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Eckerness, yes. Rose, yes. Singer, yes. Grady, yes.
Supervisor Elverman.
I'd move resolution 100.
Resolution 100 moved by Elverman, seconded by Supervisor Clark. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were underestimate last year for the year 2011 on fuel for the Highway Department and golf. You have the numbers there before you, almost $1 per gallon off on the estimates. The money is found within the Public Works Department's budget. No dollars needed from the general fund. Budgeting for this upcoming year, I can assure you, has been modified to reflect some tougher times. So I would urge your approval on this. Thank you.
Resolution 100, anyone on the issue? Seeing no lights, again, a budget modification, two-thirds vote required. Favor P and plus, opposed P and minus. Resolution carries 26-0.
Resolution 101 from Public Works Facilities and Finance Administration Committee regarding Kenosha County Public Snowmobile Trail. Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, excused. Gail Gens, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Ekernis, yes. Rose, yes. Singer, yes. Grady, yes.
Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd move Resolution 101.
Resolution 101 moved by Elverman, seconded by Clark. Supervisor Elverman.
Mr. Chairman and Supervisors, this is another one of those yearly events. For those of you that have been here for a while, you've seen this. The snowmobilers, when they purchase a license, when they do their registration, they pay a fee to the state. The state, we act as the conduit to the snowmobile clubs that prepare and groom the trails. The state gives us that money. We give that money to those snowmobile clubs. We in Kenosha County have, I believe it's 76 miles, 76.9 miles. The number that will be reimbursed with no county money being used is $19,000 and some odd dollars. So again, this is something we do every year. We're the conduit. I urge your approval.
Thank you, Supervisor Elverman. Anyone on the issue? It would appear that snow is also a once-a-year event around here as of late anyways. Yeah, that's right. All those in favor of 101 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Resolution 102 from Public Works, Facilities, and Finance Administration Committees, a resolution to approve the acceptance of grant funding for the purpose of funding the Pike River Fish Passage Dam removal, bridge installation. Public Works Facility, Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day excused. Gale Gens, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Finance and Admin, Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Ekernis, yes. Rose, yes. Singer, yes. Grady, yes.
Supervisor Elverman.
I move Resolution 102.
Resolution 102 moved by Elverman, seconded by Supervisor Clark. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution for the work that we had proposed and the state is working on, and the Great Lakes Foundation, or the Greater Milwaukee Foundation is working on on the Pike River. I'm sure you've all seen in the paper, there's been a lot of meetings on working on that watershed. This is one of the bigger pieces of the puzzle, and it's the removal of a dam on property that we own. This was originally for irrigation at the golf course, and if you read the resolution, it talks about allow the fish passages to the headwaters of the Pike River, and they are talking about the migration of this different species. This is something that is going to greatly affect not only our problems at Petrifying Springs Park. The biggest problem we have is flooding, and the use of our roads, the washouts on our paths and things there. This is going to take care of that, and it's going to take care of a greater need on the Pike River. So the acceptance of this grant is something that I would ask your approval of.
Thank you. Anyone on the question? Seeing no lights, this is a budget modification. Before you is Resolution 102. If you're in favor, P and plus. If you're opposed, P and minus. Let's see, Supervisor.
There's 25.
There we go. Resolution 102 carries 26-0.
Resolution 103 from Public Works, Facilities, and Finance Administration Committees, a resolution to approve Kemper Center roof repair. From Public Works, Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day excused. Gale Gens, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Finance and Administration, Clark, yes. O'Day, yes. Jeff Gens, yes. Ekernis, yes. Rose, yes. Singer, yes. Grady, yes.
Supervisor Elverman.
I'd move Resolution 103.
Resolution 103 moved by Elverman, seconded by Clark. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is from a storm damage that Kenosha and most of the area received in June 30th, 2011 at the Kemper Center. This is to allow the administration to accept funds, insurance funds, the amount of $75,000, which have been the estimates we have been given. Be it further resolved at the bottom of the resolution allows them to accept further funds if the costs exceed that, since we are insured for this cost. So I would ask for your approval.
Thank you. Anyone on the issue? Seeing no lights, all those in favor of resolution, let's see here, this is 103, it's not a budget modification, is it? It's payment of a bill. In favor of 103 signify by saying aye. If you're opposed, motion carries.
Resolution 104 from Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee regarding commemorating the 100th anniversary of Cooperative Extension, a division of the University of Wisconsin Extension, and the 95th anniversary of the Kenosha County UW Extension Office. Submitted by Brunig, yes. Kohlmeyer, yes. Decker, yes. Gable, yes.
Move
Go ahead.
Move Resolution 104.
Resolution 104 moved by Supervisor Brunig, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Point of order. Did someone ask for a point of order? All right, so we will back up to 103. Roll call vote. P plus if you're in favor of 103, which is Kemper Center roof. Minus if you're opposed. Thank you. Supervisor Noble. 26-0, motion carries. All right, 104, Resolution 104 moved by Brunig, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Brunig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our committee is very happy to present this resolution. It is 2012 is the 100th anniversary of Cooperative Extension and the 95th anniversary of Extension Education in Kenosha County. We are presenting this resolution to the UW system along with other counties that are approving the resolutions in recognition of the 100th anniversary. We hope that everyone takes a moment sometime within the next year to thank all of our cooperative extension educators for all of the work that they do for everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on the issue? If not, I'll take a moment right now, Ms. Winnett, to thank you for all that you and your staff do at UW Extension. Certainly your support of the county board is immeasurable at least over my tenure, and I think beyond that. And we appreciate all that you do for us, and congratulations. Thanks for everything.
Doing a great job.
Before you is Resolution 104. We're going to do a roll call vote on this as well. P and plus if you're in favor, P and minus if you're opposed. Imagine that, 26-0. Motion carries.
Resolution 105, a resolution from Supervisors Hallman, Gable, Ron Frederick, Kubicki, and Singer regarding state support for communities facing foreclosure.
Typically, this resolution or a resolution coming forward in this manner would be referred to committee. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules if you're so inclined.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration.
Motion by Supervisor Hallman to suspend the rules, second by Supervisor Arrington. Anyone on the discussion of suspension of the rules? Seeing none, all those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution...
Please move the resolution, if you would.
Sorry?
Please move the resolution.
Move Resolution 105.
Resolution 105 moved by Supervisor Hallman. I was anticipating the second. Is there a second? Seconded by Supervisor Kubicki. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is an attempt to politely suggest to the folks who head our state over the recent acquisition of money from the foreclosure settlement to move it in a direction that would be more beneficial to all of our citizens. I don't want to make this partisan because this is not partisan. The governor has suggested taking part of this money, which the state is allowed to have because it has signed on to this settlement, and wishes to plug a quote-unquote hole in the state budget. I won't get into the governor's logic on this. I won't get into the logic of the Attorney General, but certainly there are other suggestions that have been made about what to do with this money. For example, training assistant DAs in fraud investigations, providing support to foreclosure mediation programs. I think we can all agree in this room that whatever municipality you are from, you've been severely hurt by the foreclosure crisis in terms of your property taxes. We always talk about the delinquencies. Folks find out they're getting foreclosed on, they say, to heck with paying taxes. It happens. So this is a polite suggestion to the governor, to the AG, to the legislature, to be a bit more thoughtful in terms of what they wish to do with this money. I will tell you very quickly that there is some draft language as part of this consent judgment, which is the money in question that we're talking about, that has yet to be finalized. It is supposed to be finalized later this week, and we can see perhaps sometime next week or the week after states signing on to that. And of course, then it will be in the hands of the legislature in terms of what they wish to do with the money. Hopefully they don't do what they did with the tobacco settlement money and securitize it and lose more than they got. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend Supervisor Holman for taking the time and bringing this forward. I agree with this in part. There's areas of this that I don't agree with. I agree with aid to borrowers, giving the money or helping those who are underwater, and I agree with foreclosure mediation programs. In years past, when settlement monies were being used to balance governmental budgets or create bigger programs, I was critical regardless of who the party was. I don't know that, aid to local governments for lost property tax revenues, whether a house is foreclosed on or not, they still pay the taxes. And so for me to support this, I'm going to make a motion to strike items 2, 4, 5, and 6, because I don't believe that we need to put money into more government programs, into investigation, prosecution of mortgage fraud, law enforcement, outreach and education. I watch outreach and education with the smoking and the drinking and all of those things. And you know what? If these dollars are going to go directly to help those, to help them save their homes, I'm all for that. And that's the conditions that I could support this resolution.
Before you is a motion to strike under the purpose for the dollars, number 2, 4, 5, and 6, moved by Clark, seconded by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Clark, anything else?
No, thank you.
Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I disagree with striking 4, 5, and 6. 2 I can understand, but 4, 5, and 6 I disagree with. And that is because 4, 5, and 6 come directly from the Office of the Attorney General as a potential use for this part of the consent judgment money. I've had 2 conversations with Holly Pomeraniec, who is the Assistant Attorney General who's been working on this for the last month now. She and I talked this afternoon, and one of the things that she said to me is that one of the complaints they often receive is that why doesn't Wisconsin prosecute more white-collar crimes? And the response that is given is that because our district attorneys don't necessarily know how to do that. They're not schooled necessarily in those practices. So this was one of the ways that they had thought that potentially this money could be used to take care of that. And in terms of the public interest, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the resolution 105 as amended, on the amendment specifically? Rose. Supervisor Singer.
Thank you, Chairman. I can understand Supervisor Clark's concern about number 2. However, it does say for any lost property tax revenue. If we haven't lost property tax revenue, then it's not really an issue. So it's kind of a moot point to really delete that. And I do agree with Supervisor Hallman on the items 4, 5, and 6 based upon his explanation. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, roll call requested. If you're in favor of the amendment, P and plus. If you're opposed, P and minus. Amendment fails 9 to 17. We're back on the Resolution 105 as presented. Any further discussion? Supervisor Overman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, this was a wonderful idea to put this resolution together. I agree with the main point here, and to echo Supervisor Clark, no matter who has done this in the past, certainly never agreed with using money to balance the state's budget. But I also just can't willy-nilly go throwing all these things in here, and it's just not properly thought out to get a number of people to sign on to this. You may, pass this resolution this evening, but some of these things, for one thing, are just throwing good money after bad. Outreach and education for borrowers and homeowners, that's what got us in this trouble, is borrowers and homeowners and the lenders. I'm certainly not going to outreach to people that made foolish decisions. Law enforcement and prosecutors training, yeah, I thought that's what we had these people for. I can sign on to this resolution to ask our legislators and our governor not to use any of this settlement money for anything other than for people that are underwater, and that's about all I can do. Foreclosures and mediation, yes, but the things that Supervisor Clark outlined, 2, 4, 5, and 6, to me, are something that I can't support, and I'm sorry.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, all I have to say about particularly 4, 5, and 6, well, I'll start with 6, outreach and education. The reason why this whole settlement happened is because we had financial institutions in this nation that broke the law. You had law professors who said the sanctity of private property law had been completely and totally violated. Some elements of that law go as far back as Elizabethan England. So to say that outreach and education is not something that should be done with this, it's listed under one of the potential uses that the OJ Office of the Attorney General was considering. So by all means, by his own consideration, I think it should stick. Law enforcement and prosecutor training, we do some of that under the Department of Financial Institutions, but it is not nearly as extensive as it could or should be, and there are other agencies that would have to be involved in that to give it the full effect that folks are really looking for. People are mad at the banks, very, very upset, and we need more resources to be able to go after those folks, and you can use that money to do things in terms of the state budget and other programs and the like. I don't think I need to say anything more about this. I guess the only other thing I would say is that the person who was working on this before Ms. Pomeranting left to take a job with the feds at the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau. So we lost someone who was very, very good to D.C. And so I think we do need to have some in our own ranks in our state who are capable of meeting our needs here on the ground. Thank you.
Supervisor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just am not going to support this, although I support items 1 and 3. I just find it a bit amusing that in one hand we point to what the Attorney General says he wants to use with this money and it's in the consent judgment, but on the other hand we don't like what the Attorney General wants to do in a consent to judgment. It's not a basis, in my opinion. Regardless, this is probably going to pass. I want to go on record that I support using these dollars for underwater mortgages and using it for foreclosure mediation programs. I don't believe the government in any way, shape, or form should get their hands on this money to balance any budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to actually support this resolution. I do disagree with Supervisor Hellman regarding the training. I think one of the biggest concerns with the law enforcement and the AG's office and district attorney's office is the problem is lack of staff. They're undermanned. It's not education. They know how to, I mean, this is simple. They know how to do this, The problem is they don't have the man-hours to be able to prosecute these individuals. The community wants people to go after the child molesters, the real criminals. A lot of times people don't think of white-collar crime as a real offense, or it's more difficult to see the individuals. Reading the Kenosha News, you see the individuals that are killed by drunk drivers. You see the individuals that are sexually assaulted. People want those individuals locked up. They're more concerned about that. That's how the man-hours are being used. Regarding education, it sounds great, but the problem is you got to get to the root of the problem, and the problem is our law enforcement and which includes the AG and the district attorney's office, are understaffed, and that is the biggest problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Rose.
I'm going to oppose the resolution. If it was aimed exclusively at borrowers with underwater mortgages and mediation for foreclosures, I would support it. The irony of this resolution is that all of these governments, be it state, local, or federal, are all vying for these dollars. Yet it's the borrowers who have suffered the loss. It's the banks who are many times unwilling to mediate foreclosures. Paragraph 2 of the resolution cites GMAC, Bank of America, Citibank, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, none of whom have been prosecuted. Not one executive from any of those banks ever prosecuted. This is just one government vying for dollars in place of another government. That's all this is. And who's going to come up short? It's the borrowers with underwater mortgages. It's the lack of foreclosure mediation programs, which are mandatory. So I think this resolution doesn't hit the problem at all. All we're doing is saying we want the money instead of the state. That's all.
Supervisor Jeff Gintz.
I think maybe we should, after hearing more on this subject, maybe revisit Supervisor Clark's motion. I think if we send this to the governor and our state legislature split like this, they're going to look at it and say, really, there's no consensus there. So, if people are willing to sign on to it with those items gone, I think maybe we should revisit Supervisor Clark's motion and see if we can't send something up there that, all the negative I've heard has been, I'll support it, but without that stuff in there. I think if you're going to send a resolution like this to anybody, we should try to make it as powerful and unanimous as possible. So that's my input.
Well, if you're maybe willing to discuss it, I'd maybe be willing to entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make that motion.
There we go. Supervisor Gintz, motion to strike paragraph, or
Yep.
2, 4, 5, and 6. Is there a second to Supervisor Gintz's motion? Seconded by Rose. Before you is Resolution 105 amended to strike 2, 4, 5, and 6. Anything else, Supervisor Gintz?
No.
Anyone else on the issue? If not, I will pass the gavel. The initial motion, I voted no. The initial amendment. I couldn't agree more that I'm not inclined to spend money to educate prosecutors who ought to know how to do their job at this point in time. I'm not inclined to spend money to train investigators who ought to know how to do their job at this point in time. This country is ripe with fraud. The mortgage business isn't so much different than the financial business, isn't so much different than the Fortune 500 companies where the fraud is rampant. So to throw money after it, I have no real interest in that. If we can come out of here with a consensus, I am all in favor of sending this forward. All you have to do, I don't know how many of you caught the clip that was on Fox News Channel 6 out of Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. 75 cents, remember we had the 75 cents on your phone bill to pay for the technology that was going to allow emergency services to pinpoint your phone? I believe they spent $52 million to do that several years ago. They had $26 million left over. Someone said this is nonpartisan. It is all day long nonpartisan, because at that point in time, Governor Doyle extended that 75 cents per phone and took that $26 million and plugged a structural hole that this state of Wisconsin is so good at creating, biennial budget after biennial budget after biennial budget. Apparently, Governor Walker thought it a great idea and got even a little bit more clever. Now keep in mind, the only way this gets done is if both sides of the aisle and both chambers agree with it. Change the name of it to the FPFP or FPPF, Fire, Police and Fire Protection Fund. Now who's going to squawk at 75 cents on their phone bill for the Police and Fire Protection Fund? Not me. I certainly wouldn't do it. I can't imagine we've got some very supervisors in this room who would squawk at that. Tens of millions of dollars more, all to the tune of 75 cents a pop every month, right? That's been solved for years. This is the same thing. We wasted our tobacco money. We're going to take this and waste this. I still remember, and this frosts me to this day, we had our local elected officials. This is all on topic because it's all to the very point of this resolution. Be specific. Tell the governor what we want done with it. Put it and spend it where it's going to have an impact. I don't need to educate anyone in the mortgage business. I don't think there's much to educate a homeowner and a borrower on. We're going to outreach to them to do what? If you want to educate them on why they shouldn't overspend on a home, we can maybe talk about that, but I don't believe that's what this education is all about. It is absolutely wasting the dollars. I was prepared to move it forward simply to get the point out there. I agree with Supervisor Gentz. If we send it forward on a split vote, I don't know that anyone's going to take a look at this seriously. But when we have our state legislators who come before local elected officials, back when they got all the stimulus money to fill the 36, or not 36, maybe it was, $1 billion hole in the biennial budget here several years ago. And we're told at that point in time we should follow their lead and pass as responsible a budget as they passed. Yet every time we turn around, they're pulling some prank like we're looking at right here. At some point in time, we have to tell them enough is enough. 75 cents, not that big a dollar, or not that big a ticket until you start looking at the fact that it's raising tens of millions of dollars every year that they're stealing out of our pockets to fill a hole because they can't balance the budget. And what they want to do right now is take money that was illegally gained to try to fill a hole that they will never fill because they don't have the fiscal responsibility to do it and do it right. I'll support putting the money to the people that need the help. If we can't get the consensus on the board, I won't pass the resolution the way it is. Supervisor Holman, bringing this forward, I give you a great deal of credit for doing it. But truly, we are not attacking the problem, and we're not sending the message that enough is enough if we send it forward the way it is. And I think it will not send the right message because we won't have full support of this board. Singer.
Supervisor Singer.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. One of the issues that has been talked about here, and it's in the whereas, and I guess the main issue, when you talk about saying what you mean and mean what you say, we aren't actually telling the governor that we don't want him to use the $25 million to fill a hole. Why don't we actually say that? If that's what our intention is, let's say it in the resolution. Let's not tiptoe around the issue. If that's the main issue, let's do it. And I would say that would be more akin to what we're talking about. These other things are just suggestions. Actually, the whole thing is a suggestion thing as far as what the state should do with the money. Okay, state to determine what they're going to do with the money. Okay, These are just suggestions like Supervisor Hallman has said. These are possible uses, okay? And for us to debate whether one use is better than another is kind of mute, because really what we want to say here is don't use the money to fill the hole, just like the chairman had just said, and just like Supervisor Clark and other members tonight have said. Let's put that right in the resolution and say it. Don't use the money to fill a hole in the state budget.
Okay. Supervisor Rose.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move to refer this resolution to committee.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Rose to refer, seconded by Supervisor Esposito.
There's now a second one. It's in order.
Okay, is there a debate on that? On referral. Supervisor Allman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Eckerness. I would prefer that we not do this, and it's not because I'm trying to be a diva, but it is simply for the fact that the timeliness of this, I mean, everyone has expressed their concerns, and one of the things when I present these is I always worry about the intent. Everyone in the room is on board with the intent, and I'm grateful for the suggestions and the ideas. I would prefer to see it amended and to send this on, because again, time is a big factor in this. So I prefer not to send this to committee. Thank you.
Supervisor Gantz on referral.
Yes, I'm not going to support it either. I think time is of the essence as to what we want. I mean, all of us, everybody who spoke tonight has said the same thing. Certain people have wanted to carry out suggestions a little further than others, but if it's our intent, as Supervisor Singer said, add it right to the last, therefore be it resolved, right after who it's going to. Put in there, we do not want it to be spent to fill the budget hole. And I'll include that as part of my motion to.
Well, we got another thing.
Well, yeah, we got 6 of them going here, but I mean, we all have the same thought process. Let's just move it.
Okay. Supervisor or Chairman Molinaro.
I'm not in favor of referring it, and you know, either read the resolution and make a suggestion, or I guess make the statements that are made. How is this not clear? Therefore, be it resolved, funds received by the state of Wisconsin from the Joint Attorney General Mortgage Settlement would be better served by being allocated for the following purposes. I'm not sure where the ambiguity is. Now, if you want to carry that a little bit further, carry it further, but I thought Supervisor Hallman was exceptionally clear. He happened to have 6, 4 of which I'm not necessarily in favor of, but clearly there is no ambiguity here. He listed exactly what he wanted the money to go for. I'm saying I want it to go for 1 and 3 and nothing more. If you have something to suggest and offer, we can do it. But to refer it back because somehow we think it's ambiguous or we haven't stated our case, I think misses the point. It's either all or some, or you want to add some, add some. No discrepancy here for me. Don't refer it back to committee because you want to clarify it. It's clear.
Supervisor Rose.
Well, we started the evening out with moving to suspend the rules so we could consider this evening. The normal path is referring these kinds of resolutions to committee, and then we get into the kind of debate that we had here tonight, which we usually have in committee to refine and a resolution. I don't know what the urgency of this resolution is. It's been suggested that timing is of the essence here. I doubt that. This probably has to go through the legislature. All we are saying here, as I understand it, based upon these 6 options, is that most of the options are government gets the money. It's a question, is it going to be the federal prosecutor or the state prosecutor, or is it the state budget, or is it the local budget? And, oh yeah, by the way, some borrowers with mortgages underwater will come out with the least amount of money. That we know under this resolution. Yet the whole lawsuit had to do with borrowers who were underwater. And that's almost an afterthought as one of 6 options here, the other options being some form of government is going to get somebody, the private parties, money, and they were the ones that have the real estate underwater. I disagree with some of the speakers who say the intent here is clear and we're all in favor of this. Not so at all. I think the intent of the resolution is quite clear. One government wants the money over another form of another government. Local government wants it instead of the state government. That's why this is being supported by the counties association so that the counties get it instead of the state government. If that's your intent, then say so. But don't come up with this afterthought, oh yeah, what about the borrowers with underwater mortgages? Those are the people who should be getting this money. And if you really intended on that, you'd say so. You wouldn't leave all these other options on the table with the local government getting the money instead of the state government. So I'm going to support the referral, and I'm going to, if it doesn't pass, I'm going to vote in favor of the amendment as suggested because it then is aimed at the people in need.
Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Referral.
May I be allowed to clarify this because there just seems to be a lot of confusion? The whole thing, if I could. Thank you. First of all, I apologize to my fellow members. I did not mean for this to become so contentious. This was drafted with the intent that you all have specified here. It's exactly why I put it together. The first 2 came from my own brain. I consulted our county treasurer on the second one, and she said there's an interesting argument to be made for it, and there's an interesting argument to be made against it. So I put it in there just to see what would happen. Anytime I present something here, I typically say, let's throw it into the cage and see what happens. 4, 5, and 6, well, 3 through 6, were things that, by the AG's own admission, would be potential uses because there was just draft language around what the consent judgment would possibly be used for. It was not written in stone. It's still not written in stone, but it will pretty much be written in stone in about roughly by the end of this week, early next week. So that's why I say time is a factor. The feds have no place in this. This is specifically about the states, and in particular our state, Wisconsin, and about our community. That's why I brought this forward. So I'd prefer that we not send it back to committee. Lose 2, lose 4, 5, and 6. Leave 1 and 3 there. That's fine. We can do that, take a vote, and we can all go home. Thank you.
Supervisor Gantz, Gail.
Thank you. I don't agree with sending this to committee. I think that this message should be sent to the legislature as quickly as possible. It sounds as though they are going to make a decision on this money. So a suggestion would be that we would put in, if we want to be specific about stating that we're totally against using this money to fill the gap in the state budget, we could put another, therefore be it resolved, funds received by the state of Wisconsin from the joint Attorney General mortgage settlement should not be used to fill the $143 million gap in the Wisconsin state budget. And then go on with another, therefore be it resolved, and continue on. Delete number 2, 4, 5, and 6. And I think that we could get a consensus from this board and be able to pass this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Zerban. Kubicki. Supervisor Kubicki.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Yeah, I'd like to get this over with tonight. I think enough people have voiced their concerns one way or another. Let's vote this thing up or down with, we have, I don't know how many amendments we have floating out there right now.
One amendment.
Well, I'm calm.
I
You
heard
know,
6, there's 1.
Fine, that's fine.
There's 2.
You haven't seen me excited yet, so calm down. Could you repeat the amendment that's on the floor right now, please?
The amendment is to delete items 2, 4, 5, and 6, but now we're talking about referral. The only issue to talk about right now is whether or not to refer it.
I'm going to vote against referral. Thank you.
Okay. And who's next, Serban? Supervisor Serban.
Call the question.
Question's been called. Seconded by Clark. Okay. It's a roll call vote on the question. Be it plus. No, it's on call on the question. Yeah. Okay.
We're all clear, this is just to close debate.
Yeah, debate's closed. Okay. On referral.
Hold on.
Okay, on referral, P and plus in favor, P and minus, you're against. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't want to do that. I did. Okay, 24-2. Now on the amendment. The amendment is to strike items 2, 4, 5, and 6. We still got no debate. Supervisor Noble.
I'm in favor of the amendment, although I do want to make a comment. I don't know if it's just, you know, normally you see so many resolutions passed 26-0, and you know, here on the county board floor when we're, you know, on TV, but the reason that happens is because a lot of this debate happens in committee, and the public doesn't see a real committee meeting when the resolutions are being crafted. But I would like to make an amendment to incorporate the language of Supervisor Gens. I don't exactly have it, but I like the concept. I think that my reason for doing it is I'm trying to build the consensus to the point where we're going to have a unanimous vote on this and send it to Madison. So if I could yield my time to Supervisor Gens, and she could give us that amendment.
Okay, now, are you going to do that, Supervisor Gens? Okay, that would be an amendment to the amendment.
Okay, I would like to make the... Okay, I'd like to make a friendly amendment. The language would be, therefore, be it resolved, funds received by the state of Wisconsin from the Joint Attorney General Mortgage Settlement should not be used to fill the $143 million gap in the Wisconsin state budget.
Supervisors Gens and Holman, do you concur in that friendly amendment? Okay. Supervisor Clark.
No, just for clarification, Supervisor Gens and Supervisor Rose made the amendment that's on the floor, and I'm asking the Vice Chairman to confirm that they concur with the modification of that amendment.
Supervisor Rose.
All right, then you'll have to make it as your own motion.
Okay, then I make a motion to amend the resolution,
Amend the amendment.
Amend the amendment.
the amendment to add the language, what am I adding? Therefore, be it resolved, funds received by the state of Wisconsin from the Joint Attorney General mortgage settlement should not be used to fill the $143 million gap in the Wisconsin state budget.
Okay, motion's been made by Supervisor Gens, seconded by Supervisor Singer. On the amendment to the amendment. Who we got first here? Supervisor Arrington. No. Okay. Supervisor Clark.
On the amendment to the amendment, rather than stating a dollar amount as to what their deficit is, because that's a moving target every day, that we would just somehow state that it's not used to balance their deficit or something rather than a dollar amount, because we don't know how factual that number is because it changes daily. So that's I would ask that be a friendly amendment, that you come up with the wording for that, so it's just not being used to fund a deficit. Thank you.
Supervisor Gens?
I agree to that.
Okay, so it should not be used to balance the budget, basically, is what we're... Supervisor Rose.
Move all previous questions.
Second.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Rose to move all previous questions, seconded by Supervisor Clark. Okay. Roll call, PN plus if you're in favor, PN minus if you oppose. All previous questions.
Closing debate. No. I just confirmed with Corporation Counsel. The motion was to close debate on all previous questions. I'm of the opinion that you cannot close debate on all previous questions, just the question before you. Corporation Counsel wants to weigh in on that, he certainly may. Seeing no disagreement, you're voting to close debate on the question before you.
That's a good question.
I am.
Where are we now? We're on closing debate on the amendment to the amendment. All those in favor, PN plus, opposed, PN minus. Right? We voted already. Okay, we've closed debate on that. Now, on the question of the amendment to the amendment. We got three lights. Which one goes first? Decker. Supervisor Decker.
Can somebody, or can the maker of the amendment, did you mean to pull out 1 through 6? I am unclear on the entire wording. I know you're adding some. Are you taking out 1 through 6? Is the final therefore be it resolved gone?
No.
Is that how the amendment ends? I am unclear.
No, that didn't change. This is an addition to. This is an amendment to the First Amendment, which leaves the First Amendment intact.
So the end of hers ends with the colon and then lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then the last there.
No.
See?
It
That's
should
why
not,
I'm unclear.
1 and 3 will remain. 2, 4, 5, and 6 will be gone. But the amendment we're voting on right now is to add the language that we should not be using to balance the budget.
Okay, so she is adding a therefore, not changing a therefore. Okay. Before the first therefore,
She's
after
including
the
it in that
whereas.
therefore.
Thank you.
Okay. And Supervisor Singer.
Thank you, Chairman. I thought we voted to end discussion on the amendment, so now we're on the amendment to the amendment, so now we're just on the amendment, is that correct?
we're
Are we voting?
trying to get the voting
Well,
on
if
the
we-
amendment to the amendment.
If we move to close discussion on the amendment to the amendment, we should be voting on the amendment to the amendment.
Right. Okay, who's next? Supervisor, what?
Why are we talking? Why are we
Vote
talking?
on a closing debate on the amendment to the amendment?
We need a vote.
Oh, okay. On the amendment to the amendment. All in favor? Plus. Opposed? Negative. Okay. What do we got? All right. Now, we move to the
Amendment.
original amendment
As amended.
as modified. Okay, and we have Supervisor, yeah, all right, who we got first? Supervisor Rose.
Move the previous question.
Second.
Supervisor Rose moves the previous question. Supervisor Singer seconded. On the question. All in favor? P and
Roll call.
plus. All right. Now, we will vote on the resolution as amended. On the resolution.
No. There's one other amendment to vote on.
No. Oh, you voted on calling a question, all right. So we have to vote.
Voting on the
Debate's
amendment.
closed
The amended amendment.
on the amendment as
Amended.
amended. So, all in favor of the amendment as amended, P and plus, opposed, P and minus. Okay,
There we go.
now,
Now we're making a statement.
the motion is amended. On the motion as amended. Or on the resolution as amended, yes. We got,
This is the final amendment.
Supervisor Elberman. I move the previous question.
Second.
Supervisor Elberman moves the previous question, seconded by Supervisor Noble. On the question? On the,
Let's let the clerk catch up.
yeah.
This should be last. Yes.
Resolution as amended.
Correct.
Seconded by Noble.
40 minutes later.
Okay. On closing debate, P and plus, P and minus if you're opposed.
This one's really interesting.
Debate's closed. On the resolution as amended. All those, well,
And make sure it prints.
That's not right.
who said this was gonna go fast tonight? David? Yeah, it was you.
It should be, Bill should
Bet
be
you're
yes.
coming over to the right side on that. I've been one all night long.
Is there any objection to Supervisor Michael changing his vote? No. All right.
That bothers the hell out of me.
Chicken.
On the resolution as amended, All in favor, P and plus. Opposed, P and minus.
Suspense.
There we go. Here, take your hammer back.
Yeah, say, okay, what's going on?
All right, clerk.
Communications from Georgie Melcher regarding future items scheduled before the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Refer to Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Claim 22 J&T Trucking Vehicle Damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
23 John Sparks, Fallon Courthouse.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the February 7th, 2012 minutes by Supervisor Decker.
Supervisor Decker.
I move the February 7th minutes.
February 7th minutes moved by Decker, seconded by Supervisor Zerban. Anyone on the issue? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Motion to adjourn by Supervisor Allman, seconded by the Supervisor Jeff Gintz. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, we are adjourned.